We ran 100 articles through AI detectors, 50 articles in the AI labeled dataset, and 50 published on real sites that we could reliably treat as human written, like we know for sure, with named authors, editorial standards, and domain ratings between 56 and 92. These are the kind of content pieces that pass as professional writing every single day. We put every article through 3 leading AI detectors, logged the scores, and then looked at the language patterns that kept showing up in the highest flagged pieces. And then we compared the 2 sets. So what did we find? Well, the obvious AI articles getting flagged was not the surprise. What made this interesting was seeing some of the same signs in articles that looked fully human on the surface. So in this video, we're going to look at what the data showed, the 15 AI tells that kept showing up over and over, why the detectors reacted to them, and why the results from the human written set were more interesting than anything in the AI set. So make sure you hit subscribe and let's dive in. Here's how we ran this. Here's our AI detection study. Here are the findings. So we split the 100 articles into 2 groups. Here's the AI labeled data set. These are all 50 articles with the detector scores, as you can see. And here is the human labeled data set with the detector scores as well. As you can see, they fared a lot better, not surprisingly. So of the 50 articles in the AI labeled data set, we spread them across 8 industries. They were data science, marketing, HR, cybersecurity, cloud tech, finance, e-commerce, and then general business articles. We went outside the SEO niche here deliberately because we wanted to test whether AI patterns hold across subjects or vary by topic. And the other 50 articles we could reliably treat as human written. Again, looking at the human labeled articles, they're generally taken from reputable websites, big websites, Dewey.com, Global Sign. These are like really strong websites. We can reliably treat them as human written. And the DR, again, between 56 and 92, they have named real people. We checked. They're actually real people. We did our research, and they have professional bios. This is the kind of content that an editor would for sure pass as human written without a second look. And then what we did is we evaluated all of them using a clear scoring process. So every article was run through GPT-0 for a primary score. The highest and lowest confidence articles were cross-referenced with 0GPT and Sapling AI. We also did a manual assessment ourselves of every article, logging which AI patterns appeared, and we want to know basically what our team thought. Our team of editors thought. I've been doing this for 10 years, independent of what the AI detectors said. So we've got here assessed basically human notes. Again, the 3 leading AI detection tools, what their consensus was, and then our own assessment mixed in. So let's look at the findings. The most interesting thing we found here was that this comes down to a pattern, consistent pattern that we uncovered. It wasn't about a single score or a specific number. Some articles showed up heavily in the AI labeled data set, exactly as you would expect here, scoring high on potential AI. But we also found articles in the human labeled data set that showed identical AI signals to the articles in the AI labeled set with the same linguistic tells, same structural patterns, and same writing temperature, which we noted in some of the notes here. We found the same signals on DR79 and DR86 sites as well, even on publications with editorial standards and all the usual signs of credible published content. So these are really strong sites here, guys. Now, before we get into the specific tells, it helps to understand the one underlying reason all of these AI tells even exist in the first place. Because once you understand it, every single pattern starts to make sense. AI is really a statistical pattern at the end of the day. It predicts the most likely next word based on everything it's been trained on. You probably remembered, asking something to ChatGPT or Claude and watching it in real time, predicting the next token. That's really what it's doing. It's basically choosing a probability of what word should come next. So most of the time it doesn't give the best or the sharpest answer or even the most original one. It just gives you the safest one, the version that is most likely to work across the widest number of situations. And we actually look at Wikipedia's writing guide to AI. I'm actually going to check it out here. So you can go here to Wikipedia. Their Signs of Writing article has all of these. And as they note here in the article, it's basically a regression to the mean, to the average. And that is really the key to the whole concept of understanding AI writing. AI is not trying to sound like one person. It just keeps drifting towards this like smart average. And once you understand that concept, a lot of this stops looking so random. So that's why if we look at even the human written stuff, why the same tells keep showing up across different publications, not just the humans, but the AI data sets, the M dashes, the flowery language, sort of the overly definitive, authoritative, like faux authoritative tone, is because, once you start to spot this stuff, you start seeing it everywhere. And that's what our team is really good at seeing. So we started to make notes like, hey, this should be human written, but there's some clear tells here that it might be AI. So, if they're able to see it, you're able to see it too. It's what writing looks like when every next word is like the perfect word, right? People use ChatGPT, they use AI tools to write stuff because it kind of says things how it should be said, right? It's like, oh, that is exactly what I wanted to say. There's never any room for like, is that what I wanted to say? Some like intentional ambiguity or like purposeful mistakes or accidental mistakes that humans often make. And you can see that very clearly in the AI labeled data set where those tells are much more exposed, of course. But again, as I just said, you can also see those tells in the human level data set. It's just a little bit more subtle and it's masked, but not always masked really well. And that is the part that really matters. When we looked at the easiest articles to flag and the hardest ones to call, the difference was not hard to spot. The obvious AI pieces had kept more of those tells. The stronger pieces had gone through more human shaping after the original draft, but it was clear that underneath the human editing, there was sort of this fundamental AI backbone, which is kind of interesting, right? A lot of times in the past for SEO writing, you would have human written content, then a sort of weird auto edited veneer over the top. Now it's the opposite. It's sort of the machine comes first and then the humans try to add their own sort of layer, their own veneer to make the machine text feel more human, which is a bit ironic. But once you look at it this way, the 15 AI tells in content are not just a detection checklist, they're more like an editing checklist. If too many of them survive, the draft still feels like it's machine written. If you break them up properly, however, the writing starts to feel a lot more natural, which is what we want. And once you see it that way, you really can't unsee it. So I want to show you guys, and that's what we're trying to do here in this video, is to help you see that, help you train the eye for when those tells make it through. So let's go through all 15 patterns really quickly. I've grouped them into 3 buckets based on how they tend to show up in content. And these are the patterns that kept showing up most consistently across the AI flagged articles in the study. And once you know what to look for, you can check for most of them in just under a minute. And before we get into them, if you want someone to check your website right now, Blue Tree Digital, our agency, is doing free AI content audits. This is what we do all day, every day, and we're giving it away for free. Our team has been doing this for well over a decade, trying to come up with the right articles that are going to rank in Google, now in LLMs. So we have a really good concept of what's happening day to day in SEO and what the bigger picture is, not just the writing that's on the page. So if that sounds useful and you want a free content audit of your entire website, all your content, check the link in the description below. And now let's get into the 15 AI tells. Okay, so we're going to walk through the 15 biggest AI tells. I know it says 17 here. Don't freak out. There's actually probably like 150 or more AI tells, but there's more every day as the AI is getting smarter, trying to outsmart you, outsmarty it. But right now we're just going to look at bucket 1. These are very obvious AI tells, and so I ranked them strong here. So for example, the first one here, M-obsession. This is when AI uses M-dashes far more than human writers in places where commas, parentheses, or restructuring would feel natural. I said a paragraph with 5+ M-dashes. Really, a paragraph with 2+ M-dashes or even 1 M-dash is ridiculous. I know a lot of people are like, I supported the M-dash before AI. Well, yeah, cool. A lot of people did not do that. So any M-dashes to me is a pretty big giveaway. So I'm just going to open up some random ones here. I really haven't looked at these. My team kind of went through in detail. So, what I mean is I haven't prepared for this. I'm kind of doing it on the fly. All right. So what do we have here? This is pretty good in terms of M-dash. You don't have any, you have one It's also how the M dash is used. That's really important. You can see here, I love we're starting with the most important one, the M dash. It's just, this isn't necessary to put an M dash here. It's not, it doesn't add. Every answer seems wrong and every court ruling makes it murkier. Okay, that's another one we'll get to later, murkier. Every answer seems wrong and every court ruling makes it murkier. This is a very obvious sentence, but you could just have, if you want to have this be a more human written sentence, every answer seems wrong, feels wrong, comma, and every court ruling makes it more confusing, more uncertain. Something like that. Real simple. You don't need this like heavy-handed M dash. It's just a comma or just continue the sentence as it would. But again, it's not an obvious style. Okay, here you go. I know I said 5+ per paragraph, which is, you don't really see that, so ignore that. But let's call it per section. So we got 2 here per section. The models, they argue, didn't learn, they memorized. That's actually a proper use of a dash, to be honest. This is also a proper use of a dash if I can't or won't honor those principles. What you could always do if you're concerned about having too many M dashes, even in places where it's normal to use, just use a normal hyphen. You just don't have to use the long hyphen. That can mask it a little bit. Okay, here's the classic. So you don't want to start your article with an M dash. I mean, come on. And we all know the very common trope. It's not X, it's Y. It's not A, it's B. So that's where the M dash really stands out like a sore thumb, is when you couple it with that not X, Y pattern. So I think let's move on to the next one. I think everyone understands the M dash here. The next one's very common, contractions, UR instead of your. You can see here, so I think this one actually has been edited for this. So is instead of it's. So the team here, whoever wrote this, went through and made sure. But really simply, the formal contractions are, instead of using can't or it's or your or basic contractions, the AI will basically, we'll just use both words. So that's an easy one to fix. It doesn't mean you never use both words. Of course, you want to mix it up, but you do it in a place where it makes sense and it adds to the relevance and the context and the emphasis of what you're trying to say, not just let AI get away with the obvious tell. Okay, so tell number 4, we're jumping around here. Importance inflation. Let's go here to importance inflation. So what is importance inflation? This is probably one of my favorite ones to edit. This is basically AI puffs up ordinary facts by calling them like pivotal moments, significant shifts, or parts of broader movements. So for example, something marks a pivotal shift in the evolution of regional statistics in Spain. This initiative was part of a broader movement. This is like English 101. When you're in an English class, like maybe even in middle school, and the teacher says, just say the thing in the simplest way possible. That's it. Why does AI do this? Well, again, it's trying to really convey a point. There's probably more machine learning reasons why it does this, but it's trying to say something in a way that feels human by using a little bit of flowery language to emphasize a point. But the reality is, good at writing is saying something in the shortest way possible here. All right, so the next tell is the ing phrase tack. What is this? This is sort of like a moderately AI tell, but it still comes up a lot. And when I explain it, you're going to remember, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. You're going to be able to relate. So what is this? The AI appends a participle ing phrases at sentence ends to signal significance that the sentence hasn't earned. So it's similar to the importance inflation, but a very sort of subset of it. So here's a couple examples. Consumers benefit from the flexibility, improving convenience. The car benefits from a better drivetrain, improving performance. You don't need to say improves performance. You already said it benefits from a drivetrain. That is improving performance. So it's importance inflation, but it's a subset of it where it's redundant again. So at the sentence, the way to think about this is similarly, say things in the most efficient way possible. A human would think about this. An AI would need to add redundancy. So if the sentence was complete without the ing phrase, just delete it. Leave it as it is. Leave it off. This is common in human writing too. That's why it's a moderate tell, but it's much more common, happens with much more frequency in AI, and it's much more formulaic. So you can sort of tell it's a pattern there. Let's look at a couple articles, see if we can spot it here. Again, I'm just going to pick these randomly, so hopefully we can find some to illustrate the point. Here's a good example. Keep the language approachable and specific, avoiding technical overload. That's what this is. Being specific is avoiding technical overload, so keep the language approachable and specific. Brands that distill long case studies into bite-sized, boom, get rid of this. Not necessary. It's about helping prospects envision themselves in the success, not drowning them in specs. I would get rid of this. It's about helping prospects envision themselves. A shorter anchor text here, shorter link. A well-told story, so you just get rid of this as well. Simple. So we found 2 tells there. Great. All right, moving on to the next one. False ranges. This looks like from intimate gatherings to global movements. Wikipedia calls these false ranges because they imply a spectrum between two loosely related things to sound comprehensive. I've got this marked as tell number 11 here. False ranges. From X to Y constructions that imply a spectrum where nothing exists. 2 loosely related things dressed up to sound comprehensive. Replace it instead with a genuinely described spectrum or 2 specific examples without a false framing. From a small group mission to a global movement. Something like that, where the connotation is more about a cause that you're doing, and it turns into a movement, not an intimate gathering. It'd be like from an intimate gathering to a song that strikes the heart of a large auditorium or something like that. That's more about the feeling and the sensation that juxtaposes with intimacy, but on a larger scale. So you'll have to be careful you have to really watch out for that. It is sort of your own taste, but AI does seem to add that a lot. Okay, so number 12 here, the rarely gets the spotlight opener. So what does this look like? AI frames its subject as underappreciated to hook the reader. First sentence claims the topic deserves more attention. Here's an example. Data validation rarely gets the spotlight it deserves. Models get the praise, pipelines get the blame. Just delete the opener entirely. This is very consistent across AI content, and it's applied regardless of whether the topic is actually overlooked. So let's move on to the second bucket, structural red flags. This is what we call the DNA of the tells. So let's take a look at some of these. The first one here is the rule of 3 and negative parallelism. So what is this? AI loves groups of 3, fast, flexible, and scalable. Even bigger is negative parallelism. So like we talked about this before. It's not X, it's Y. It's not A, it's B. Coupled with the M dash, it's the most obvious AI tell of all AI tells. And yet still people, you see it on social media now, you see it. If you use X like me every day, I'm addicted to X. I see this all the time. Big accounts basically hire someone or they sell their account and then it just gets flooded with AI tells. These are so obvious. I'm not going to go through the articles. In fact, I'm just going to read out the rest of the tells rather than scroll through these so that you guys can understand these major tells. The next one is in the structural red flags. Again, these are structural red flags, is monotonous pacing. So what happens here is AI writes sentences and paragraphs of nearly identical length. The rhythm is perfectly even. Remember when I showed you earlier the writing guide where you're varying sentence length? AI struggles to do that. The rhythm of AI writing is even. It's monotonous. It's boring. Human writing has burstiness and long, flowy language coupled next to short, punctual. It breaks it up. It adds variety. That's what being human is all about. Variety is a spice of life. AI has not figured that out yet. So make sure that you're filling your life with variety. Important life tip. The next tell in the structure is the compulsive summary. So what is this? AI cannot resist summarizing itself. In conclusion, overall, in summary, if these appear inside the body of the article, rather than just at the end, it's a giveaway. And they're going to appear everywhere. You don't have to watch me doing a search for them in the article. They're everywhere. Just get rid of them. Even in the end of an article, try not to use these. They're very cliche. It's sort of just a weak use of language, unless it adds something or adds substance or summarizes in a way where someone wasn't expecting it. Don't add in summary. It's just lame. So AI is quite lame when it uses this, and it uses it a lot. The next tell here is the perfectly balanced list. Ooh, this is a strong AI tell. What is the perfectly balanced list? Well, every list item gets the same word count, the same structure, treated as equally important. often with bolds sprinkled in. Explanation, example, repeated identically. Here's an example. 5 statistical tests, each with the identical word count and structure. What you can do to fix this is to pick one item and develop it more. Express which item matters most. Use bold where it really matters, not where the AI just adds it arbitrarily. So you, the human, have to assign importance, not let the AI's flowery, puffy language be used throughout. Because if everything is equally super important, then nothing really is super important, right? That's a really important one. And then, as I just mentioned, excessive bold formatting. This is an obvious AI tell. I can't believe when I see a website and it's a big company and they use bold on like the company about page or critical landing pages for their services. They might be selling like enterprise software for hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars, and they're using bold sprinkled in. It's like someone on their content team didn't bother enough to even take out the obvious AI tells of bold. I mean, come on. I don't need to tell you how to fix this. Just use bold extremely sparingly, if ever. It's a weak use of emphasis. Bold should be used in a place where almost the reader wouldn't expect that bold would be there, and you're adding it to show that, yes, there should be emphasis here when you do not expect it. So those are the 5 things in bucket 2. Again, just to recap, the rule of 3 and negative parallelism coupled with the M dash. It's not X, it's Y. Monotonous pacing, always add variety. The compulsive summary, overall, in summary, in conclusion. The perfectly balanced list, every list item is the same. And then the excessive bold formatting, get rid of the bold. Now, I hope you're enjoying this. I am too. It's kind of fun for me to point out the AI because I get a kick out of it. But before we move into bucket 3, if you're into SEO content, AI SEO content like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I've got a lot more coming out on SEO, content authority, much more advanced topics coming soon. We've laid the groundwork. We're going to be covering agent engineering, SEO agents, marketing engineering, all sorts of cool topics coming soon. So make sure you hit like and subscribe. Appreciate the support. And now let's move on to bucket 3 of the AI tells. Bucket 3, vocabulary and commentary. What are these? This is a moderate to strong AI strength. And what this means is a set of words the AI defaults to when it wants to sound authoritative. We said before that AI is sort of like this fake authoritativeness with flowery language, a lot of the stuff we've talked about. And these are specific words. So common tells right out of the gate. Delve, robust, elevate, seamlessly, leverage, empower, moreover, pivotal, breathtaking, tapestry, intricate, underscore, foster, testament, crucial, captivating. The list goes on. Sort of the things you would hear maybe in like a corporate DEI policy, an HR meeting. Let us delve into the robust framework. Moreover, it is worth noting, these are the kinds of examples when you'd see them, it would be a clear AI tell. And again, I'm not going to go through the articles, but that list that I just gave are probably the most common AI vocabulary words that you're going to run into. So simple way to do this is look at some of these words here. I'm just showing you on the screen right now. Search for each word individually and just replace it with specific, clear, succinct language describing what the sentence actually means, or just cutting it out entirely. The Wikipedia guide specifically names delve and moreover as sort of the most common and egregious examples of this. So you can look for those first. All right, next one is the quietly tell. This is documented in the New York Times, actually, and this is when AI describes things as happening quietly to add drama to an otherwise flat claim. AI is quietly transforming how we work. It's like, ooh, it's like an undercurrent. It's adding this like soft sub-communication of the way that AI is weaving itself into the consciousness or the fabric of reality, but without letting you know. But ironically, when it says that, that's AI. So that's pretty much it. It's a word I could have added to the last one, but it's unique in the implication that it has because it's kind of the opposite of emphasis. It's like a subtlety, but same, just a word, look for quietly and then remove it. Another one, it's important to note, these are sort of editorial commentary that the AI is trying to add its own take on the content itself, the real substance. So in the Wikipedia AI tells, it says it flags these as editorial commentary phrases and mentions that a real writer would just emphasize the point. Whereas AI tries to signal that emphasis is coming before delivering it, which of course is counterproductive to having emphasis on a point itself if you know it's coming. So look for those sort of like preemptive emphasis frames. Another one might be it is worth noting. No discussion would be complete without, oh my goodness, like AI is such a drama queen, really, like at the end of the day. Any sort of dramatic stuff, just get rid of the drama and you've got a more human. Ironically, the silicon is more dramatic than the humans at this point. And last but not least, the uncanny valley compliment, forced enthusiasm. What is an example of this? The results are nothing short of transformational. This SEO video and AI content is nothing short of the greatest YouTube marketing video of all time, maybe forever. Wikipedia flags the word breathtaking as well as a major tell. It reads like a press release or a hype news story that's trying to add hype to a statement rather than objective writing. So it's basically injecting subjectivity. So we can find another example of this. So the tells here are breathtaking, transformational, groundbreaking, game-changing, or here's one, fascinating. Yeah, I love to say fascinating. It's a promotional tone that reads like a tourism website. This breathtaking approach, the results are nothing short of transformational, as I mentioned. Just remove the superlative. It's an easy fix. So that's it. I'm not going to dive into the extras. I think we've covered enough at this point. So if you've gotten this far, I want to share the Detector results. Ta-da! The results of our study that we mentioned at the beginning. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the data slots and we're going to compare the worst to the best. Okay, so let's look here. We got the filter on. The worst. All flag AI manually assess as 0 natural contractions throughout. So meaning this had a bunch of contractions. Let's see if we have, there it is. It is. You are, wow. There you go. 3 URs, multiple it is. Cannot's kind of a rare one, but those two are the main ones. So even those, that's quite a lot. So that's a big one. Let's see, article name and score. So we've got Batwool and the KD Nuggets. Another one from the same site. Apparently they're happy to let the AI detection go through. I'm just going to cover 3 here, not all of them. Team manually assessed it as well. So this one's not terrible, but we do have a lot of M dashes that give it away. We have the bold thrown in it that's left in there, more bold still. So what we saw here is some interesting results. 100 total articles, AI labeled 50, human labeled 50, 14 were manually assessed, and AI was found in 2 of the human data set. Now here's the interesting part. The average AI score of the AI set was 75%, not surprisingly, across 10 manually assessed AI articles. And the average AI score of the human set was just 30% across 4 manually assessed human articles. The detector agreement rate was pretty good, 85%, and the highest AI score was 95%, which was the KD Nuggets Python article as determined by GPT-0. But as you can see, there are articles that are both in the AI labeled data set that, according to our assessment and according to a lot of these tools assessment, particularly GPT-0, which we found to be the best one, show really high. But then we have some at the bottom that the detectors couldn't quite, they weren't sure, or, so 50-50 is pretty close for something that's almost certainly AI, according to our assessment, or some that actually they thought were low AI. Vice versa, if you go here, you'll see that some of these ones, here's a good flip article, how to sell a SaaS business, should be human, but then you have the AI tells. Again, here you see bullets that are almost uniform, bold sprinkled throughout the bullets, bold, uniform bullet length. Let's see what else we can find. The bullets, M dash looks like it's been scrubbed, which is good. So it looks like you have some tells, but not others. So these GPT-0, keep in mind that they're not perfect. And in some cases, we have a few AI slipping through, that tells you that there was probably AI originally, which is what we said at the start of the call, but it didn't get scrubbed by human editing. So stuff that a human would never have done, like sprinkling the bold throughout, perfectly uniform bullets in a list, that's something to see that over and over again. It's definitely AI, but a human editor did not catch it, so it's left through. So if you're Google and you know what these AI tells are, you can still say, hey, this is an article that was written by AI, even if it looks like parts of it are human. Therefore, we're not going to cite it and we're not going to rank it as highly. So it's important to get all of it. And that gap where there's a distinction between what the AI says and what was actually written by a human, what was edited by a human, is really the whole point of the study. The most obvious AI articles were not obvious just because AI was involved. They were obvious because too much of the draft still looked untouched. The harder article held up because more of that had been edited out. That is where the difference comes from. So the more AI that you edit out of the article, the better your score is going to be. So what do you actually take away from this? Well, high DR does not protect you. A named author, a real person, does not protect you either. And editorial standards do not automatically clean this stuff up either. Stuff can slip through the cracks. We found obvious AI signals on sites that look completely legitimate on the surface. We found easily detectable AI content on DR89 sites, and we found convincing, hard to flag writing on DR77 sites. The number on the domain tells you nothing about what a human editor did or didn't do after the model generated it. And that is really the point. If AI is part of your drafting process, human editing is doing the real work. That is the layer that decides whether the piece still feels flat and AI generated, or whether it actually reads like something a person published and meant to publish. That is why the 15 tells really matter. They are useful if you are trying to spot AI, sure, but they're even more useful as a list of what usually still needs fixing if you're a content marketer in SEO. Too many of those habits are still sitting in the draft. People will feel it, and likely Google, as a result, Google's AI overlays and the LLMs will feel it too and will not cite your content, and you won't get the traffic. So thanks for watching. It's been quite a journey here to cover all of these 15 AI tells. Please make sure to subscribe, because in the next video, I'm going to take one of the flagged articles and clean it up live, 4 passes under an hour, and we will see how much of this we can actually remove ourselves. And if you want to see the 5-stage process we use to create content at Blue Tree Digital, you can watch that video right here. See you guys next week.